Right, I am here at BSUK Tech Day with Mike.
Hello.
And one of the things that we want to look at, which they're really proud of, and something that's going to change the way you do your electric modding forever, is the Mosfet board. Now, obviously, these guys are the pioneers of Mosfet kits throughout the world, and those enable you to basically have one wiring loom to all the board. So instead of having to make multiple looms for multiple applications, you can make one wiring loom, and you can use one loom to deal with any motor combination that you like, provided your Mosfet is rated appropriately, and you don't need a ridiculous, comically large switch hidden in the grip. You can use a stock micro switch, you can use a sub-miniature micro switch, you can use what actually fits in the blaster. How did the Mosfet kit come about?
The original Mosfet kit came about because I'm a lazy bugger and decided that wiring wires through a demolisher was too much work. I couldn't be bothered to sit there and thread wires through demolisher's shells, so I decided to cut stock wiring, shove the Mosfet in, and call it a day.
Okay, we're here at Tech Day again. I'm just going to have a quick look with Mike from BSUK at the Mosfet boards. Now, I'm going to give you guys a close-up of these, and then Mike's going to run us through some of the features. So, if we look down here, we can see these are some of the prototype Mosfet boards, and there's one here that's attached to the wiring loom, and Mike is going to run us through that one in a minute. And I know a lot of people struggle with Mosfets and with soldering Mosfets, so here are some of the boards. And I'm going to go get a dart for scale. Okay, so here I've added a dart for scale, and you can see that those are a fairly small board. That has everything on it, and Mike's going to stop for a minute running around and having fun and generally getting on with work. Or standing next to me like a muppet, and Mike's going to run us through the features. The idea about the Mosfet board kit is basically to make it as easy as possible to wire a Mosfet. Now, we've looked at them close-up. Obviously, these are the pre-production prototypes.
I baked these in my oven in the flat at home because it was easier, cheaper and quicker than getting an outsourced manufacturer to do these. So they produced the bare bones boards like these, and then I basically took these and went through the spark plug tutorial on reflow soldering in my oven, which didn't work. There a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. I basically taught myself how to do reflow soldering at home.
So will these be fully soldered when you buy them as a kit from Blastersmith?
Yeah, we'll have the manufacturers go through and basically build everything from scratch. So the only thing that will be different, this obviously has the diode pre-installed, the pull down system pre-installed. The only thing that will be different will be that the white plug that you can see, the JS is an optional extra you can solder on afterwards.
Right.
And all it is 2 bits of solder, dot, dot, dot.
Yeah. And that's on the flip side of the board, and obviously you can't see it very well because it's so small. I should point out that this is a very, very small board. This is much, much smaller than actually putting the components into the blaster as you buy them at the moment. So there should be no problems with fitting in those, and it's actually got smaller through its evolution, so the final stage is much smaller than the...
This is version 2, this is version 3.
And it's so small that Mike really dropped it. Now the beauty of this is that you can have JST connector for your rev switch, so your rev switch plugs in, and then all you have to do is just solder to the pads the outputs to your motors. Now here's a finished loom. So if we look at the finished loom, this is a finished Mosfet loom. Here is your main battery connector, and you can see that the standard Britner XT60 is visible there. And then here is your plug-in motor block, and then you've just got a simple JST connector to allow you to have a fully modular loom. So if you want to, you can have plug-in trigger microswitch, so that if your trigger microswitch fails at some point in the future, unlikely if you use a DC2, but if your trigger microswitch fails, you can just replace it. So that just literally plugs on to the pins, and then you're done. And that is all that you need to do, is to solder the motor wire, negative in, and the positive out. And that is, negative in, negative out. And that is all you need to do, because it's an N-type Mosfet. So there's your negative from your main battery to the pad, and then your negative to your motors out the other side of the pad, and that is it. And I don't think it is physically possible to make that job any more simple. That is to complete the loom. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I forgot the positive in up here. So there's a positive in up here, positive in up here to power across, to power the rev switch, negative in, negative out. So that is 3 solder joints there, 4, 5, and then 6, 7. 7 joins for a complete Mosfet loom, plus the 4 on the motor block. And I think that is really, really amazing. Now the other application for these is in the Stampede, And if you're familiar with the Mark II kit, you'll see that there's obviously the relay. Detail.
Yeah, all the silver screen on it allows you to tell you, basically tells you where the wires want to go. So this board comes bare, like one of our version 2 fret boards.
Right.
So it comes bare, and you just slot your components in and tell you the solder.
Brilliant.
And basically, we've got 5 solder pads for the relay, 3 for the Mosfet, which again you just slot through and drop dots on. What else have I got? I've got the header plugs as well here.
Right. So again, those are plug-in for the micro switches. One of those is for the control switch on the cycle control, and one is for the one on the trigger. Is that correct?
Master power switch.
Right. Yeah. So the on-off switch, you know, the big chunky thumb switch. One of those is the on-off control, and then the other one is the cycle control switch from the trigger. And do I need a special soldering iron to do this? Do I need solder paste, or can I just use the same soldering paste that I've got, same soldering iron that I have for my other jobs?
No, perfectly normal iron. I used a battery powered 25 watts cheap bottle. This actually board itself was done with worse soldering iron.
Okay. So there you have it. You don't need anything special to do that, and that obviously now means that as the Stampede kit, that is extremely compact, and there's lots of space. You can fit this in the Stampede. You can put it in the back of your battery tray. It may well actually fit in the grip. It's extremely small. So that now means that Stampedes can play in the 21st century as well. So I think that is a pretty amazing set of boards, and I want to steal that one, but Mike's going to take it back off me.
The great thing about these is that the old version 2 kit had these blue wires that you soldered for the CD tabs. Yes. We've replaced all that with these nice little technical traces done in manufacturing, which is really quite nice.
So when do we see these deploying?
Probably middle of April, the latest.
Okay. And the FET board, same time?
Okay.
Okay, so you need to keep an eye on BSUK's Facebook and on their website if you're keen to get your hands on those. If you're thinking about buying FET looms and things, obviously the component parts, are you still going to sell the component parts kit, or are you going to replace it completely with the board?
We'll probably sell the component parts kits, but I will be honest, unless you are going for some weird edge case PWM where you need to interact with the P channel, just buy a board. It's a lot easier.
I think I will probably be buying a board because I'm lazy, and when it comes to these things, and if there's a quick way to do it, then we can all spend our time shooting foam and not soldering, which I think everyone agrees is a good thing.
There's a balance.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mike, and we'll just have a quick look at that Stampede board in more detail. Okay, so we're just going to have a quick look in some more detail at the Stampede board, and you can see there's the components, look, onto the board, and then if you look on the flip side, where Mike was talking earlier about the pads being labelled, and you can see a dart in the background, so there's the labels on the board, and you can see that you've literally just got to thread the components in and then just put a pad of solder on the other side of the board, and that just acts now as a nice neat holder, and it holds all of the parts in, and then they're all labelled to tell you what each part does. So that one there, for example, there you can see that's the power switch, and then that one is the switch to the trigger switch. So you don't actually have to add any further switches. It's literally just those components there is all you need, and the rest you can just make up out of wire as you go. So you've got your battery power in and everything. So there's battery in, and then there's the motor wiring, and that's all it is. So that's a quick look at that one.